holy crap, you're so prolific and you put so much out there in the world for free and you're
Thanks.
so generous with your time. It's like amazing. I'm so crazy blown away. And even if I wanted to sit down and listen to every episode, which I 100% will and do,
Today I'm
yeah,
talking to Jess
aside from
Tims of HER
answering questions,
Fertility
like I'm just
Support.
learning so much about like energy and I just like
Jess agreed to
I'm
share her
in my
time with
heart right
me,
now. I'll just say that.
first
Like,
showing me the
you're
ropes
so
on
cool. Thank you
podcasting,
so
and
much.
then as a special guest on the
Yeah.
podcast.
Thank you for all you put out there.
So you chose a career in healthcare instead of going to therapy. Welcome to the 33 and Up Club. Too new to feel this burnt out, too seasoned to be called green. I'm your host, Kana, a NICU nurse. I'm going to bring you the experts on healthcare burnout, millennial motherhood, mental health, and more. So raise that emotional support water bottle, and here we go.
Just want to share like why I wanted to bring you into this space. First of all, when I met you, like you're like earth mama grounded, but like super suave and cool energy. It was so fun to be around. So I just wanted more of that. And I'm on this journey to talk with everyone I can about how they have maintained their sparkle through some really heavy work. And I just like you totally have. And I want to bottle that and share it with people. So let's dive in.
Yeah, thank you. I'm so happy
Okay.
to be here.
So yeah, her support is amazing. You do all of this training for new infertility doulas. You have clients who you counsel. You have this podcast where you share amazing information for anyone, even if you're not dealing with infertility and those who are dealing with infertility. Yeah, you're just prolific. So I guess my first question is, how are you okay? Like, how do you do all of this and maintain like just you and yourself and your own sanity?
Mm. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I think when you find work that you're truly called to do, it's easy. And in working with women who are in a place where I was on my own infertility journey, and I say I created what I wish I had because I didn't have support and I didn't know where to find it. And so being able to support women during a time where they really feel like they lose themselves and you want to be a mom so badly and it's not happening, and then that creates such a spiral around your worth and if you're broken and like all this internal stuff. And so being able to be with them, like truly my clients are like my biggest inspiration. And so I say I will never stop doing this work because I just feel inspired by them and their strength. And so it's like this wellspring that I get to pull from all the time. It's really an honor to support women in this space. I really think there's something, not that men couldn't do it. I just think there's something really special about women supporting women. And so that's why it is
Yeah.
HER fertility support. Like, will there be a his fertility support someday? Maybe. But right now, I think women really need women. And so it also, though, to answer your question on like how, I'm a mom and a business owner and all the things, but it really comes down to my own boundaries. And that was something, it's always trial and error. There's no perfect, and it's still something I'm working on, but it's really about being able to have boundaries around my time and energy and how I'm spending it and prioritizing what is like the most important thing for me and my clients first, and then everything else is like a bonus.
Okay. Wow. And I know we talked about this last time where you have kind of like a ritual in between moving from your doula support space to like, back to your own personal space and not like physically carrying or mentally carrying the energy of those really heavy experiences into your own life. Um, and something you said on an episode that I like really vibed hard with was like there's no Cinderella story to grow. We don't magically wake up one day and we're all done. It's this constant journey that you're never ever done with. And I really appreciated that because that like saying like fake it till you make it. You never really make it. And I keep waiting for
Right.
that sensation to hit. Yeah, like, "I've
Yeah.
made it, I can hold boundaries, I got this." No, I
No.
love that you said, like, we've been sold this lie, it's so true.
Yeah, and I think that really speaks to kind of this masculine frame that we're all living in. Our society is very masculine
Mm,
driven. What I mean by that is I like to think of it in terms of the masculine is like the sun, it rises and falls every day, whereas the feminine is like the moon and it has cycles. And when we think about how are we even positioning what success means, what we should do with our time, and we live in a society that's like, do the same thing every day. And every day you should do, like, but that's not realistic for women, especially. And so being able to give ourselves permission that you will have seasons and they could be long or they could be within your cycle of like, I have more energy this week, but then in a couple weeks I don't. And knowing that that's not because you're weak or you're burning out, it's just part of your beautiful feminine energy. And I think when we give ourselves permission to lean into that, we're actually more creative or more in our power because we're working with the energy that we have. And it's a really beautiful thing. And in fact, my husband and I were just talking about this last night because it's a full moon tonight. And he was like, wow, I just feel so tired. And I was like, then go to sleep, like go to bed early. But, to him, it was like too early to go to bed. And I'm like, you could be feeling this cycle and it's asking you to go to sleep. And I said, as me as a woman, I just like, I really lean into that and I'm grateful for it when my body's like on my period or whatever and I'm slowing down. It's almost like a forced slowdown, but he doesn't have that. And so
yeah,
he was like, wait, okay, I'll go to bed early. And then, he woke up today feeling great. So it's like, I think it's a built-in
wow.
system that we're not told to lean into, but when we do, it's really supportive.
Wow, I really appreciate it. I almost cried when you were saying that. I also feel very buffeted by the winds of the cycle, and hearing you say that it's not a weakness, it's actually just normal and something we can find power in. So, thank you. Wow. And that it really seems to me, I was also listening to some of your client testimonies. You really kind of manage people's grief. Grief over this journey not being simple and easy, grief when it's devastatingly bad. Like, I guess this is really privileged and naive of me, even working in the NICU and knowing, but I didn't think about the fact that infertility also, what you're dealing with is infant loss. That's really heavy work, and you're really moving people through some very traumatic experiences by just kind of going along for the ride with them.
Yeah. Yeah, I think at the heart and soul of this work, whether you're a fertility doula or, just a fertility support professional in some way where you're supporting someone, it comes down to me about the human connection. And, at the end of the day, we're all human. And what that means to me is we connect together in a way that AI could never do for us or technology or information, right? Like we can get all the information we want, but there's still a part of us. We're here together for a reason and we thrive when we're connected. And again, this was really born out of what I didn't have. And you're dealing, whether you want to call it like the energy around the experience or the emotions or whatever it is, that's all living in you. And when we can have someone witness that for us and really hold space for that, it can be super therapeutic and healing in a
Yeah.
less formal space than therapy, which therapy absolutely has a role. But this
Yeah.
is a much more in step with you as you're going through it. Of course, also
Yeah.
having the scope awareness of when somebody needs licensed therapy, but being able to hold that space for them because I believe we were never designed to hold all this grief by ourselves, right? We were designed as humans to support each other through these times. And I don't think that socially we're doing a very good job of that. So
No,
being, yeah,
not at all.
yeah. So that's kind of the heart of what I do.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I was thinking while I was listening to some of your episodes, I wished you had been a part of my pregnancy, even though I got pregnant easily. I didn't stay super pregnant easily. Like, it's like a weird thing to say, but I
Yeah.
started out with a twin pregnancy that ended in a single pregnancy. I wish I'd found you then because
Yeah.
nobody in the healthcare space could validate the tremendous unrelenting anxiety that I had throughout the rest of my pregnancy.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
they would like, after the loss of twin B, I was just like there was no more joy. I was just terrified for the remainder of it, and so like, the ultrasound techs and the doctor were like, "Why are you so" they were worried that I was disconnected and not gonna bond with my baby because I didn't get effusive, and they're like, "Oh, there's your adorable little baby, there's her eyelashes." I was just kinda like, "Okay,
Yeah.
cool."
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Thank you for
and then
sharing
yeah.
that. And I'm so sorry for your loss. And I think one of the things that we miss the most about this is it's in your body. So we experience grief as humans in the way of loss, like you lose a pet or maybe a loved one, and that is you grieve that more in your mind than anything, and like maybe in the physical
Mhm.
sensation of like they're not around as much. But this is a loss that's happening in your body. So your body is also grieving the fact, you had for you two, and then there's one, and then there's, of course, a survival around that of fear. And then, the mind gets involved around like trying to make sense of what happened. And this is the other element of infertility that we really don't talk about enough, but the mind wants the story. That's how we make sense of things as humans, is through story. And
Mhm.
with infertility and especially pregnancy loss, there's usually not a story or something that makes sense to the mind. And so it kind of goes crazy and it wants to protect you from that pain again because it's designed to
Mhm.
survive and painful things are threatening. And so I think, the band-aid that we are all taught is to focus on the positive. Well, you still are pregnant, right? Focus on the
Mhm.
positive, but
Yeah,
what that largely does
yeah.
is denies this part of you and this experience you've had that also wants to be heard and felt and processed. And so that's largely a lot of the certification work that we do at HER Fertility Support is to equip practitioners with that softer edge because, in medicine, like there is no training for that, but you're working with patients who
No.
have these grief experiences. So,
Yeah.
yeah, bringing more of that into my background, I have a master's in communication. And so really about like what do you say? We always like, we want to say something, we don't know what to say. And so we work on that in the certification.
Hmm. You, like, answered my next question,
Oh,
what
good.
like, read my mind, which was exactly this, was, you know, with your communication background, if you could teach healthcare providers, like nurses, doctors, therapists, like, everybody who does an excellent job in treating the body in these spaces, like, what would be the biggest golden nugget you would want healthcare professionals to take away from a class on communicating around
Yeah.
like you said, like spaces where there's grief but joy or, the care is excellent, but like we're missing the human element, as you said.
Yeah. It's more of a mindset shift for especially medical practitioners,
Mm,
um, because you are taught and trained to solve a problem. And yet,
mm,
communicatively, it's all about not solving the problem. It's really, we call it like holding space or witnessing or really just listening to someone. And with the intention of, I'm not going to solve this for you, I'm just going to hear you and allow you
mm,
a carved out container by asking, how are you feeling? Or, tell me more. Like, tell me more is one of my favorite phrases because it gives someone permission to
mm,
share as much or as little as they're ready to. And then, as the practitioner, removing your hat of problem solving and just allowing it and just witnessing it,
mm,
not taking it on. You don't need to solve that problem, but it's
mm,
removing kind of the intent and just carving out space. Research shows that with a big emotion, like the energy of that emotion, it just needs to be felt for 90 seconds to be released from the body. So if we can carve out
mm,
90 seconds of an appointment to ask someone, hey, you had that loss, how are you feeling about that? Without the intent of solving the problem and just listening, it's kind of like a relief valve for that person to like let out some of that pressure that's been held up inside just by sharing it in a trusted, safe space. The cool thing about medical practitioners is your patient already has a trust level with you, right? Like they've been seeing you under your care. So you remove that boundary and then you can provide a safe container. And then the question usually becomes, well, what do I say? Right? Like they've shared, they've opened up. Maybe there was tears and that's okay. And then you just say, thank you for sharing that with me. And then you can move on to like, okay, are you ready to do this? If you're at the beginning of the appointment or at the end of the appointment, like, thank you so much for sharing that with me. Now let's get you scheduled for the next one. And that's all it has to be. Again, you don't have to solve the problem.
I really appreciate that you like gave the 90-second explanation, because I can like hear healthcare providers listening to this being like, I don't have time for that. Like I have
Yeah.
30 other patients I have to see, or I have 2 other patients I'm caring for in this 12-hour shift, and taking that time and like, oh my God, if they cry, like what do I do? And I have to go chart. So I appreciate that
Yeah.
you gave it like the 90-second framework, because we all have 90 seconds.
Yeah.
In my experience, it doesn't only last 90 seconds, but we all have at least 90 seconds.
Yeah. And it's, it comes down to what, we work on like time management and then also having resources. So like, wow, that sound like if a lot comes up, sometimes it is longer and you're like, okay, great. Thank you so much for sharing. We have a partnership with HER Fertility Support. They have a free support group. They have, like different ways to support you and having that resource. I think one of the biggest challenges with especially fertility clinics is there's so much red tape involved that they don't have those resources. They have what they do, but then they don't have those like referrals out. And it's one of the really important reasons why like I have a free support group, but it's in partnership with Resolve, which is the National Infertility Association, so that we have like a connection around credibility and like making sure this group has a structure because they have really specific standards. And so it's really about having something for your patients to refer them to if they really are in that space where they need more.
That's a really good idea, and a really important bridge. Yeah.
Yeah.
And a really great way to couch it so that we as providers or caretakers are less afraid to go there. Because like you said, like we have problem solvers. Like I have a thing, like we need concrete tasks, and or we're trained to have concrete, discrete tasks to complete. So having a resource or a referral is a really helpful tool to make, kind of like empower people to actually go there and hold that human space for patients.
Yeah. And if it
Because
is
I
a
think that's something that
day,
can be really scary.
yeah. And if it is a day, because I can still hear, the amazing practitioner who's like, okay, great, but, we're backed up and we have like all these other people or whatever, then you don't have to open the door, but you can still acknowledge the fact that this is hard. So what I mean is don't ask the question, but at least say, not at least, but still say that, what you're experiencing is hard, because what that does, or can be hard, because what that does is it validates the experience and at least acknowledges it. And you then as a practitioner are showing more of a human side than just, the data and the numbers.
For sure. Yeah. I'm silent because I'm processing
Yeah,
and like absorbing and appreciating everything you're saying.
that's great.
Yeah. Okay. Something you also mentioned just now, really quickly, I want to just go back to. You said it when you were talking in, I think it was episode like 33, where you were talking about how you got on this call as your first time doing early doula support for infertility, and you got on this call and you were completely unprepared, and you realized like there's this huge disconnect between the information, and there's just, like you said, we live in an information age. There's no shortage, it's not difficult to get the information. It's more of the after you have the information. I just really appreciated that you said that, because yeah, we all have a ton of information at our fingertips, and it's what comes next that you really help people with, and that we as providers and just like human beings need to be helping people with.
Yeah. And what that reminds me of is like, because we have so much information, coming back to what we were talking about before, we really feel like we should be doing it all. So in the bucket of fertility, it's like, oh, then we should be, doing the supplements and the diet and the this and the that, and I should be this and I should do that and I should try. And it's every body is different and what you need is for you. And so it becomes really about a conversation of uniqueness and really being able to listen to what does work for you because it is different. But when we live in an information age, we think, well, I have all this information that I need to do it all. But that's also not the truth, right? But we have so much and we just think like, okay, let's just try it all then, which can be more harmful than helpful.
Mm.
So it's really coming back to an awareness of, okay, great. I have all this. Now, what feels right for me? Let me pursue that thing first. But we're not really taught about how to hear our inner voice. And so that's a lot of the work I do with people one-on-one, where we're learning
Mm.
what is a yes for you? How do you know that? Now let's get some clarity around the decision you have to make because there's a lot of decision fatigue, in all medicine, but
Yes.
in fertility as well.
Yes.
And there's a lot of pressure, typically like timeline pressure to make a decision quickly. And so
Yes.
being able to come back to, what is my inner voice saying, not what am I doing to please everybody else around me, and then moving forward from there.
We touched on this the last time we talked. Also, how cognitive behavioral therapy, the idea is you have a thought and that thought triggers an emotion and a reaction. And if you can catch the thought and change the thought or reframe it, then you can change the response. And then you responded and you're like, yeah, but that's really masculine thinking. And it's, you tried to redirect me back to like, what is your body telling you? Like, where in your body are you actually feeling this response? And like, how do you honor that? And I so appreciated that because I feel like everything I've ever been told is the complete opposite,
Yeah.
right? Like it's in your head. You don't listen to that. Like, oh, you know, the vibe is not off. It's you.
Mm.
But I really, I wish we could tap into that. Like my intended audience are people who have chosen helping professions, especially around healthcare. And we go through so much that is terrible. Like we experience so many terrible things and we just kind of like tell ourselves like this is the job, this is what you have to do. But what if we honored that sensation like you're saying and like trusted our actual like almost actual gut? Like where would that lead us? Would we have made different career decisions?
Yeah.
I guess my question is like how do you tell people to get there and like find that voice and honor it and not like self gaslight, I guess, to use the buzzword?
Yeah. Yeah. So there's kind of two um, things that got brought up with that question. So the first is as a practitioner experiencing the thing. And then the second is like, how do I hear my own inner yes or no? But I'll answer both. So the first is you're going through your day experiencing other people's trauma, for lack of another word. And it really becomes about setting the boundary that you're not taking that on is like one step, is kind of a preemptive step of like, I'm here to help you. And that doesn't mean taking that from you. This is still your experience and what your body is going through. I'm going to help you with that, but I'm not going to take that from you.
Mhm.
And then at the end of the day, having some type of ritual or practice where you are leaving that with intention. And we talked about this last time of how like I either after every client like wash my hands with the intention of like I'm giving them back their energy, I'm washing that off, and then at the end of the day, I take a shower, but then I also take a bath where in the bath I set the intention that like any energy that's not mine is coming off and going into the water and down the drain. And it's really symbolic, but it helps me at least mentally separate the thing and stay in my own power so that I can be available as a mom and a
Mm.
partner and all the things. And then the next question about like, how do I hear my own inner guidance? The first step is to not shame what happened in the past because what's happened is done. We cannot time travel and make a different decision. And I think we get really
Yeah.
stuck in the, oh, I could have, should have, would have done something different. But there's no point in spending the energy there because you can't change it. And I think this is something that's
Yeah.
hard to hear, but it's also really freeing to hear when you can give up what was because you can't go change it, then you can focus on the future, which hasn't happened yet. And the past doesn't have to necessarily come into the future. It's a choice whether it does or not. And so you can choose moving forward to be more making decisions from your own place of power. And then things will start to shift. And it can be as small as, like, what do I want to wear today? Not what should I wear today? Or what do I want to eat for breakfast? Not what should I eat for breakfast? And it starts that small. Another practice that I love walking people through, it's so silly, but it's just repeating out loud the word yes, like in repetition. So you just say like, yes, 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 set a timer for like a minute, and you feel the quality of that yes. Because for everybody, it's different. So some people feel it in their heart, some people feel it in their throat, some people feel it in their belly. And then you do the same for no. And you say no, 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 over and over and over for like a minute. And you get at least a sense for, what does it feel like when I say yes? Actually say it. And what does it feel like when I actually say no? And that's the first step in understanding what it is for you and your body. And some people, when they do this, find like, oh, like my no actually feels easier to say than my yes. And so that's maybe why I'm saying no more often, because it just feels easier to do. That's like one example of many. For me personally, my yes and no both live about the same place in my body, which makes it really tricky because I'm like, okay, wait, is
Yeah.
it the yes or the no? But over time, I've been able to recognize that my yes feels really like sparkly, for lack of a better word. Like it's this like sparkly energy. And it kind of also feels like nervous. So rather than just automatically thinking I'm nervous about this, I can sit with it for just a second longer and say like, okay, wait, no, that's a yes. Like I'm excited for this. And it's helped me say yes to things that are more aligned for me, just in getting to know what it feels like in my body.
Wow. Amazing. Yeah. I feel like, oh, I'm gonna have to edit out all of my like pauses for just like absorbing, but thank you. Like
Well, and I think,
this is all very new and very profound for
yeah, and
me.
it really comes back to, if we think in childhood, we are largely told, like most of us, the way we were brought up is told to like be quiet, to not be so loud, to not, to like to suppress the natural expression of our body by being quieter, by not moving as much, by sitting still. And so we do disconnect from these sensations early on. And it's like a relearning of what your body is trying to tell you, but it takes practice, right?
And wow, as a mom, you definitely want to avoid that. You want to teach your kids to honor their bodily sensations and intuitions and feelings. And it can be as basic as like, are you hungry? Does your belly feel hungry? Like,
Yeah.
but it's so much more important than, oh, you seem really wiggly right now. Like, what's your body trying to tell you? Or wow.
Yeah.
Oh, oh my gosh. Okay, I'm definitely gonna have to like go back with a fine tooth comb through all of your podcasts because okay,
I so
so
appreciate that. I
if
know
you
it's
I,
like always, there's always more to share.
yeah. I wish you could like give a general class to healthcare providers, like not just in the
That'd be
infertility
fun.
space, but just kind of, right? If you could just be, okay, you're a healthcare provider, you're recognizing that there's this gap between what your evidence-based practice and the way that you experience your own body and other people's bodies. I wish you could just share, I don't know. I'm going to have to like find a way to bring you
We
to
should do
healthcare
it.
providers in general cuz
Yeah.
yeah, this is
It's
just
funny
so
because, yeah, well, I spoke at the American Society of Reproductive Medicine last year on fertility
wow.
support. All we do is fertility there, but it's mostly doctors, reproductive endocrinologists, and these were the questions I was answering, right? Around like, what do I say? How do I do?
Really?
And so there's totally a
Okay.
need, and you let me know when. I will be there.
I- I'm going to have to do some brainstorming about it, but this is so missing in so much of life. We just don't talk about this or acknowledge it, or I don't. I just, when it's very black and white, and I need data and numbers and results, and it's these intangible things that you're bringing into words for me and for so many, and I think it's just mind-blowing that we haven't been doing this, we aren't doing this, and ugh, so many thoughts.
Yeah. Well, and
Like,
I'm a data
bringing
nerd
this
too.
in.
Yeah.
Right. I
Like,
know, and, like, there is data to support what you're doing. It's not that there isn't, it's just we're not sharing it.
yeah. And so it's really, my goal is to help bridge that for people, right? For me, it's in the fertility space, but it applies across all the things. So we have this,
It
let's
really
use
does.
it. Yeah, because we're human.
Yeah. We really are human. So after speaking to you the first time, I was like, "Oh, I wish there was this thing like a NICU doula," to the kind of like, we talked
Mm,
about how you had your own NICU experience and then operative experience with your baby. So there turns out there is a thing as a
cool.
NICU doula.
Good.
Yeah, and she's going to come on the podcast later, and she has a whole program, and she trains more NICU doulas, and it's incredible.
So happy to hear that because, like, our children's hospital is really good. They were phenomenal.
Yeah.
But they had somebody at least come in, and they came in and they checked on us and they brought us like a little toy for our son. And it was so sweet. And it made such a big difference that, yeah, a NICU doula would be so welcome.
Yeah. Yeah. I actually work for such an amazing place, and they work really hard to take really good care of their patients, but there's still a huge gap. Also, like energy healing, like you were talking about the mother wound and where that sits in the body, the sacral chakra, you said. And like,
Yeah.
I kind of wish this was part of mainstream education, because even if you don't practice it, you can still learn so much.
Yeah. It's so fascinating. I'm always learning, but when I learned about where energy lives in the body, it was like a whole new language that I didn't have before. And it started to help me understand why when you get bad news, you feel it like in the pit of your stomach, or like why when you get
Yeah.
on stage, you're nervous in this little like butterflies, and why when, so it's like these experiences we have, but now I have a language around it and where stuff lives in the body. And it's helpful in like all of the ways, of course, supporting people, but also just in my everyday life. Like if, my son is complaining that his back hurts or whatever, I'm like, okay, great. What lives back there is this. And we can like work through it in
That's so
that
cool.
way. Yeah, it's really cool. So yeah, I think the disconnect becomes we live in such a world of like you're either all Western medicine or you're like all woo and crystals and sage, and like
Yes.
there isn't an
Yes.
opportunity for the bridge. And yet I think there's power in knowing both.
Yes. And I think the reason I can sit here and feel so profound about what you're saying is because you do couch it in this very like you're in the real world. Like you understand, like, it's her fertility. The first thing you said, it's a biological process, it's the hormones. And then you're moving on to the other aspects that people are really missing. So,
Yeah.
oh, I just, not to go back and not, I can't change the past. I don't need to put energy there. But I think it would have made such a profound difference if nursing and medical education included a nod to this
Yeah.
or a class. And, maybe some of them do now, but it didn't 5 years ago. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, I
Oh,
think it speaks to how we connected. And I was so inspired by your work, and then also like the new clinic that just opened up. I don't know if clinic's the right word, but practice. And,
yeah.
the coming back to more of these root cause type of things. That's really what we're getting to, right? Like we can band-aid all day with medicine, but we really want to get more to the root of what's
Yeah.
going on.
Agreed. The do no harm, but then we're missing the forest for the trees. We're sending you home technically healthy, but we've also just robbed you of so much autonomy and like so much trauma and like
Yeah.
medical trauma. And then we're like, okay, you're healthy now. Bye.
Hmm.
But you're
Yeah.
not. You're not
Yeah.
healthy. You're not okay. And it's going to show up in your body later
Hmm.
physically.
Yeah.
Like after my daughter, I had tremendous anxiety, and then I developed like horrendous eczema. And the
Yeah.
two are 100% related. Like you said, this is like the missing piece, and I I don't know where I'm going to take you, but I just want to put you in my pocket and take you everywhere. Just like,
Thanks. I'm along for the ride. Yeah. What I was going to say, I love what I do with fertility because it will enter into motherhood and it will carry forward. But if we can start to bring your power back now, then as you walk through the rest of these stages, you have more of a foundation to stand on, right? And I didn't
yeah,
have that. And in my story, it took me a long time to get pregnant, but then we did get pregnant eventually. And then it wasn't really till my son was 2 that I really started to dive into this work because I was like, wow, there's still something here. And I had postpartum
yeah,
anxiety and all of that. And it was like, okay, there's something else I'm missing. And so it really started the journey
yeah.
at that point for me to dive into this type of work. Yeah, it's something that,
Mhm.
again, there's no perfect. We don't get there. I'm still working through things and I always will be, but having more of
Yeah.
a foundation to stand on is really nice.
Yes. Oh, that postpartum anxiety is no joke.
It's no joke. Yeah.
Yeah, it's no joke. Yeah, I feel
Yeah.
like growing up, I heard so much about postpartum depression. So then I was like, oh, okay, well, we'll work. And then postpartum anxiety just ran me over like a bus that I didn't see
Hmm.
coming.
Hmm.
Yeah. And then I learned after the fact that it's actually more common than postpartum depression.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's really interesting. I don't know. I think we just need you to teach a class on all of this body awareness, energy kind of healing, and then connect people with listeners like you who can, in addition to the anti-anxiety medications or therapy, just also provide some sort of physical healing that isn't medicine
Yeah, because they complement each other,
per se.
right? Like if someone's
They
on,
really do.
and it's great. Medicine is so helpful and, Western
For sure.
medicine is so helpful and it can be complemented by this.
Yes.
And I think that's the biggest, especially in the fertility space, like working with different, whether it's an OB or a reproductive endocrinologist, they can see it in their patient, right? Like they can see that the stress is so high that like there's a really small chance that IVF is going to work for them because their stress is so high and their experience has been so painful. And so, how can we break that pattern in their mind and in their body to give IVF the best chance of working, right? Like, that's one example, but
Yeah.
it's like, how can we support what you're already doing in medicine with this work?
And it's really scary because healthcare has so much become a business and about the bottom line. And yeah, we're like I said, we're really losing the forest for the trees, and it makes me sad that like isn't something that's accessible to everyone. I guess the birth doulas are being a little bit more covered by insurance now, but I don't know. Have you had patients get their fertility doula covered by insurance?
Yeah, it's limited, but there's some, family planning insurance coverage. But
Mm.
that's why one of the reasons why it's really important for me to make information available through my podcast, or I have the free support group. I have a free masterclass that
Yeah.
talks about like this connection of the mind and the body. And then I have
Oh,
a $29 a month membership that gives women tool to use on their fertility journey because it should be accessible. Like you should be able to have this type of support that supports your whole
yeah.
body and it shouldn't run you, thousands of dollars. And so that's really what we do here. Of course, we have the one-on-one support too and all of that, but it's also available for all the levels.
Yeah. No, that's so amazing. And then if you're listening, obviously you're hearing how prolific Jess is and how many resources are available. And I'm so excited for people to hear this because I'm going to go take that masterclass. Like, I just, like,
Thanks.
yeah, I'm so excited for everyone to hear this episode. I really am so excited.
Thank you. I'm so grateful that you're open to it. And obviously, I could talk about it all day long. So thank you.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Thank you for all of your patience and all of your free time that you gave to this.
Mhm.
And just been so healing to talk to you. I have to say, like, it's been so validating and so healing. So thank you for that free healing.
Oh, thank you. That's so kind. And I always say it's you, it's not me. It's you being open to it. And if anybody has questions, please reach out. I run all my own stuff, like social media wise. So like I know a lot of this is kind of broad topic, but if you have a specific question, I'm so happy to answer it. It's so fun to talk about.
Thank you so much.
You've been listening to the 33 and Up Club. Find more on Instagram at the 33 and Up Club. See you soon.